Little bit of a viral conversation here. Dan Orlovsky, kind of off the top of his head, was giving a list of, in his opinion, the best quarterbacks in the NFC. There was one name he didn't mention. This is how it went.
I would right now, if you asked me to rank the NFC quarterbacks, it's Matthew Stafford 1. I would probably put Jordan Love at 2 and Brock Purdy at 3. But if you flip-flop those guys for me, I would have no argument on that. I'd probably put Kirk Cousins at 4 and Jared Goff at 5. So Love is on his way. The 9-game stretch, he was one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. But Stafford is still at the top.
Where the hell is Dak Prescott, Dan?
Well, and that was the point. And Harry immediately jumped in. I was literally about, what you missed there is I start ripping up a piece of paper because I realized anything we were planning on doing for the rest of the show had just come to a screeching halt because he made a list of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFC and did not mention Dak Prescott. And then the whole thing just went crazy from there. Bart, reaction.
Yeah, Dan hit his head or something. I don't know what Dan was slipping on Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins could have a huge year in Atlanta if he's healthy.
He could do all that, right? And we know he's been the model of consistency. He's played a lot better than people are giving him credit for. But not to have Dak Prescott in the top 5 in the NFC is ludicrous. You talk about him being successful in multiple different systems. We don't know what's going to happen to Jordan Love now that the league has tape on him and they adjust to the adjustment. We'll see what happens there. But to say that Dak Prescott, who was an MVP candidate for most of the season last year, is in the top 5 in the NFC is crazy.
Lewis.
I agree. I agree with Bart. It is crazy. Look, you know what's wild, man? Like Dak is one of those dudes who, you know, he's kind of like Tua when you're talking about AFC quarterbacks. People just love to hate Dak. Even if he puts up the numbers in the regular season, and I'm not just talking about yards. I'm not just talking about touchdowns, although those are spectacular too. Any advanced objective metric that you use to gauge this man's play, he's not just one of the tops in the NFC, he's one of the tops in the NFL. He was tops in the NFL last year. You can't dispute that. No, he doesn't throw no-look passes. No, he wasn't someone who was highly touted in the #1 overall pick when he came out of Mississippi State. No, they haven't gotten to the Super Bowl and won it. But to say that he's not in the mix for the top 5 in the NFC, and I love Matthew Stafford, love Purdy as much as anybody. He's right in there, and he has a strong case to say, I'm the best in the NFC. I really am. If you want to look at my statistics, yeah, I mean, we can sit here and go back and forth on this all day long, but the numbers are what they are, and the numbers don't lie. Because, again, I'm not just talking boilerplate, standard box score scouting. And this has been echoed by other quarterbacks who watch Dak play, who really respect his high level of competency at the position.
Dak Prescott belongs in the top 5. Mm-hmm. He should be in the top 5. And it doesn't matter if he's in Dan Orlovsky's top 5, because at the end of the year, he'll be the #1 highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Forget about the NFC. And not only that, but we're also missing another quarterback in the NFCs. Jalen Hurts not there. I know Jalen Hurts fell off, but if we had been making this list 1 year ago, Jalen Hurts would have been the #1 name on that list, and he's not even mentioned in that particular list, right?
Well, remember Jeremy Fowler's the poll where he asks all the different coaches and executives, and Jalen Hurts fell out of the top 10 in the views of a lot of people in the league. Look, these things are somewhat fickle, and they come and go, they rise and fall. And to Schefter's point, Dak Prescott's going to wind up being the biggest winner out of all of them because of the way he has played this thing from a business standpoint. But the only question that it certainly, if you're just jotting down who are the 5 best players at the position in the NFC, clearly Dak Prescott is one of them.
Yeah.
But if you're asking who are you expecting to have the best season, who would you start a team with? Who would you most like to have this year? If you were to change that, and I mean, the staff and I of the show actually agonized over how we wanted to do a list on this today and ultimately decided to leave it alone because there's nowhere to put it that works. But if we were to do all those things, I can make a case that I could see all 5 of those guys, their teams being better than the Cowboys this year, and those guys thus having better seasons. Bart.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you talk about it's a lot of good marriages there where scheme and player kind of fit. You know, Jared Goff has kind of, had a renaissance, a second life, so to speak. I mean, he's found a home with a coach that matches. And, Brock Purdy is in one of the best situations, one of the best play callers. But when I had to say, okay, best scheme and best skill set, Brock Purdy wouldn't be there. He probably would be, last on that list or off. We all recognize that Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback on that list.
Yeah.
But then he's aging himself out. So, these other guys are ascending. Maybe Jordan Love has the highest ceiling on that list, but once again, we have a small sample size. Let's see if he can put things together now that he has expectations to be great in a very, very competitive division.
Lewis, I got 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love, to answer your question, Greeny, that's the one. That's the one if you're starting a football team right now, that's the guy you want. And that's exactly the way that Brian Gutekunst, the general manager up there at the Packers, looks at it. They are betting on the future. That future performance projection, they made a huge bet. And all the youth that he has around him, both in the backfield, at tight end, at wide receiver, they're as good at drafting offensive linemen, obscure offensive linemen, and developing them into a strong unit as anyone. He's the one. He's the guy who I think really explodes onto the scene this year.
I don't know how bold it is because Mike Tomlin, all he does is finish above 500, but I think he has a great roster with Justin Fields. I think that he'll have the Steelers in position to compete and fight for the division this year.
That is a bold prediction considering how good we think that division is. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland might be the best division in the sport. Louis Riddick, let's hope you can actually see the future here. Give us a bold prediction for Dallas.
Look, I think CeeDee Lamb, I don't know how bold this is. I think CeeDee Lamb will, at the very least, slot in right behind Justin Jefferson in terms of average per year, like right around $34 million per year when this deal is all said and done. If I really want to be bold, I say he ties and or maybe slightly surpasses Justin Jefferson when this contract ultimately is signed. And he's the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL because of his importance to that football team. So let's go all the way with it. And let's just say that he maybe matches or surpasses Justin in average
I love
per
it.
year.
I love it. At this point, he deserves it. Bart, give me one for Chicago. We'll see the Bears tomorrow night in the Hall of Fame game.
Well, listen, I know Matt Eberflus, is expecting to have a, bounce-back season. The team finished well, but I believe that this team is going to finish fourth within the division. I think we're really overlooking the firepower that the Minnesota Vikings have, a rookie quarterback struggling, trying to finish strong. In their last 8 games, they have the Lions twice, they have Green Bay twice, they have Seattle, San Francisco. That is a tough schedule for any rookie, especially finishing in the dog days of winter.
The Bears play all of their division games in the final 2 months of the season. And so Dan Graziano's training camp tour continues. He's with the Chicago Bears. We love the graphics there, all good. And Dan, when you were with us yesterday, you said that Matt Eberflus was just moments away from telling the world whether or not we would see Caleb Williams tomorrow night. Now we know that he will not play in the Hall of Fame game, but I know you had a chance to talk at length with the Bears coach about the rookie quarterback. What did he tell you?
Yeah, so he said he asked Caleb Williams the other day, sort of, how has it been, like, relative to where you started in the offense? And he said Caleb just started laughing. He said, remembering that first meeting they had with him at USC and how the offense seemed like a foreign language to him. So they really feel like everything's kind of been installed. What they're doing now is giving him game plan practice. They'll give him a call sheet, and he'll work with that for a couple of days, and then they'll give him a fresh one to learn. And so they're trying to simulate the game planning process, and they feel like he's getting it down. What Eberflus told me was at this point, Caleb is really kind of learning the skill sets of the players he's playing with. How does this receiver run this particular route? How does that receiver run the same route? Stuff like that. He said, so he's really doing a good job of mastering it. And Eberflus said, I asked him, so what kind of kid is he? Like, what kind of guy is Caleb? And he said, he's great. He said he's a 1 + 1 = 3 multiplier sort of guy. And he said, as he's gotten more comfortable and more sure of himself in the offense, you see that leadership start to take hold and him exercise more and more of it. So they're very pleased with where he is. He has more to do. They are hoping to get him some live reps at some point in the preseason. But right now, they're very happy with his progress. All
right, and the one thing we know for certain, and Schefter told us with the reporting yesterday, that he will have DJ Moore in the fold for a long time. 4 years, $110 million extension. We talked about it earlier. Graz, you were there. What was the reaction in the building?
Yeah, look, they had been working on this a while. The agents were actually out here at practice yesterday. I should have put 2 and 2 together and seen it coming. But anyway, the Bears, they had a couple years left on that deal. They did an extension anyway, and I think what they're doing is identifying the players they think are going to be cornerstone pieces for them for a long time and making investments in them. You saw when they traded for Montez Sweat at the deadline last year, they weren't afraid to give him a big deal right away. So this is a sign that DJ Moore is someone they believe in and someone they want to be a part of this thing that they're building around Caleb Williams for a long time.
Okay, and so let me bring it out to the group here. Danny, you stay with us. I want more from you on the Bears, and we'll do a sneaky hembo coming up for you in a couple of minutes. But Schefter, I want to start with you. If there's one thing I know intimately, it is sports talk radio in Chicago. It is where I started. Yeah. And the reality is they've lived through Mitch Trubisky, and then they've lived through Justin Fields, and now they've watched C.J. Stroud set the world on fire last year in Houston as a rookie. And now they, meaning we, the Bears, have a quarterback who's even more highly touted, walking into what looks in every way like a better situation. So I think that the expectation level for him is going to be high. Is that reasonable? Is that fair for a rookie quarterback coming in?
It's the reality of what today is. You have the #1 overall pick in a market that is craving a star, that has been waiting for somebody like this on a team that goes out and drafts Rome Odunze, trades for Keenan Allen, signs DJ Moore to a contract extension, surrounds Caleb Williams with all this talent. So whether it's fair or not, people expect that Caleb Williams is going to be a star and be a star early. And it doesn't help him by the fact that C.J. Stroud last year had the best rookie season that any quarterback ever has had. So when you put this all together, it creates a huge set of expectations for Caleb Williams to try to live up to. Now, here's the thing, Greeny. If he's as good as some people think he is, he'll do that.
Yeah.
It won't be an issue. But if it's too much for him, and if he falls short, then that's going to be a major setback for this franchise, again, at that position. But there are a lot of people that have a lot of high hopes for how talented he is.
Oh.